So that just happened. The first ever cyclocross mixed relay just took place in Fayetteville, and I really wanted to give my thoughts on it because I thought it was absolutely brilliant. You could tell it was just a test. Both the race and especially the post-race could do with a little bit more fine-tuning, but nonetheless what we got to see was a thoroughly entertaining, unpredictable, fast-paced event. It was great. When this idea was first announced, I was sort of tangentially intrigued by it. I wasn't like totally into it, but I didn't mind the mixed TTs on the road, and you know, an extra race is an extra race. I'm not complaining. I don't really watch mountain bike very much, maybe I should, but it seemed that people who do were already quite excited by this cross relay too, because it's very much inspired by the mountain bike one. So I was somewhat interested, and that interest grew the whole time. Then unfortunately came the announcement that the Dutch wouldn't take part, and then it seemed like we'd have a very small start list, with as little as 4 countries entering: Canada, the USA, Belgium and the Czech Republic. The USA then amended the rules slightly, allowing a total of 7 4-rider teams to take to the start in the end. A decision that, as much as it's not great, and the idea of having 2 teams from the same country isn't brilliant, it was definitely better than just having 4 starters, and the UCI were pushed into a difficult position, which was arguably of their own making a little bit, but you know, there wasn't much they could do at that point. But what about the race itself? I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was great. It was very different and it created some slightly strange scenarios, but that was the magic of it. The Czechs and the Italians going with different strategies to the more predictable Belgian and American start orders made for a really fascinating dynamic and a really sort of fascinating race outright. It was only by halfway through the final lap that it became clear that it would be between the US and Italy. I mean, who'd have thought that? And even by the end of the race, the gap was only a handful of seconds. I definitely think with more countries lining up and more countries taking this seriously, there is genuinely massive potential here. My favourite thing about the relay might just be how it brought some lesser known names to the fore. Everybody knows how good Dan Suter is, or Clara Honsinger for example, but who knew that Samuele Leone had that in his locker? Or that Silvia Persico was quite that good? Oh my god, she might be a favourite for the podium now. She was brilliant. You know, Kristina Zemanova had another brilliant ride as well. Someone who's been largely underappreciated by a lot of sort of casual viewers and a lot of commentary teams as well. Got to really show that she's seriously good as well. If anything, this mixed relay enforces a sense of togetherness and teamwork between all the categories. And I hope the big guns take part in the future and this becomes a staple event. I mean, imagine being one of the juniors racing, say Lauren Molengraaf or David Haverdings or Jordi Korzes or Katrin Sakisov, and getting to race alongside Mathieu van der Poel, Marianne Vos, Wout van Aert and Clara Honsinger in the same team. I think that alone is brilliant, because that must be such an inspirational, almost career-affirming moment. You know, when you see those pictures of athletes when they're kids with their idols, like that picture of Mark Cavendish and David Miller for example, that's quite a well-known one. This event is essentially that picture personified. And I think that picture, and therefore this event, is beautiful, because it shows something beautiful about sport and about teamwork and togetherness, and about how everybody is together. Another thing I really liked about the relay is the way it forces the countries to really pay attention to all age groups and all genders. It's the fairest assessment of how good a country is that we've seen in cross. Beforehand, everyone, including myself to be honest, thought Belgium were the favourites. Bear in mind I wasn't as convinced as they were on Belgian TV that they were going to win, but I thought anything less than gold wouldn't reflect brilliantly on Belgium, to say the least. I mean, they're Belgium. They are cross. Of course they should win. And yet, despite Suter being in the lead at the end of lap 1, they quickly fell apart, the race serving to highlight Belgium's poor record in women's cycling. The relay seems to be a great way to assess a country's standing across current and future riders in both men's and women's categories. Whoever wins this race, especially under the 6-rider start list rule that was originally planned and should be back in the future, whoever wins this could call themselves the best cross country. See it as something like the Formula 1, and yes, I'm aware of how often I compare the two as well. In Formula 1, the Drivers' Championship gets all the plaudits, but the Constructors' Championship is where the prize money is won, and is where the teams really want to win. To the teams, and sometimes to the management, That's the more important competition. The mixed relay is like our Constructors' Championship. It sees which country is constructing the best riders over all of the categories. One thing I did think was a little unfortunate was the lack of interaction we got to see between the riders. We don't often get to see the countries unite as one between different age groups and genders. That's kind of the magic of this event. So I would have loved to see a bit more of that. Just the hugs and happiness or whatever. Maybe an interview with the US and Belgium too. Like, one of my favourite bits of the whole race was at the end when Italy's head coach Daniele Pontone, what a madman he is by the way, just sort of ambushed his riders in congratulations. And that kind of culmination and eruption of happiness and passion is what makes great moments in basically all sports. So putting more of a focus on that, to me, really could elevate this thing to a proper, serious, big event. What it, in my opinion, should be. All in all, I found the relay to be absolutely enjoyable. It was a tad short with just 4 riders, but that shouldn't be an issue next year in Hoogheide anyway. Hopefully next year we get the Dutch, maybe the British and the French too. I reckon they could be front runners as well. The mixed relay has so much potential, it may as well be a Dutch youth rider at this point. What a great race, and congratulations to Italy for being the best cross country in the world, I suppose. Who knew I'd be saying that, eh? I do wonder what other people made of the event, so why not leave a comment below saying what you made of it. Could be some great discussion. And let's hope that we enjoy the rest of the World Championships just as much as we got to enjoy this one.